All right, let's welcome everyone back to the Principals Podcast. We are here on almost the eve of Halloween, transitioning into the second quarter. Once again, I have in one of my corners here Mr. Hyam, and I also have Mr. Bandera. They are sporting Christmas colors today. Pretty soon, very soon, we're going to have that white stuff flying from the sky. But really, we're going to talk two parts today. We have no guests because not that we can't get guests. Let's make that clear. We can get any guests we want. We
just don't have any money to pay them anymore. We got to wait another week until we get our supplemental pay in there to pay them.
I have like 12 baskets around my desk. I hope that the Metaviver closes out tomorrow and they can get these things to the rightful owners. But we want to talk at end of the quarter, academics, and also our persistence during COVID-19. What's been going really well and what we can continue to refine throughout all that. So I can't believe we've gone through another week, gentlemen, in school. It goes by so quickly. Mr. Hyam and myself, we have a race going on. Mr. Hyam, you want to talk about that race we're doing? The OTES race?
Oh, the OTES race. Yeah, I was like, whoa, wait a second. I thought my running days were over. We're racing to get our OTES done. For those out there who not sure what we're talking about, that's the process of evaluating our teachers and sitting through a formal observation, writing it up, and everything else. And I had 3 today. That might be a record for me, so my brain is on fire. But
that's 270 minutes.
270 minutes. Oh,
just today.
Yeah.
Mr. Bandera, he is in the Looney Tunes cartoons. He's the turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. Mr. Bandera, on the flip side of not being able to do OTES, he's been doing a lot of other things. How was your week?
Good. What would really, really help me do more OTES is if our students continue to do what they're supposed to be doing. So make sure you're attending your classes. That's number one. That's the biggest thing there. Attend your classes. Our online students, make sure you log in and attend your entire class. Attendance is being taken in those. So that would definitely help you with making sure that I can do other parts of my job, which I enjoy doing.
Amen to that. I also had several observations today and this week. What was pretty cool that twice in the course of the last 2 weeks, Mr. Hyam and I were able to observe 2 teachers in the same room at the same time and give feedback from us. I'm talking about one teacher, he's talking about the other teacher, and then together we can collaborate on really the great teaching and learning that's going on. I've observed a lot of new classes this year, and I think, Mr. Hyam, you have too. One of the coolest ones today was a walkthrough with Mrs. Tasnick with her new history course, which was related to like Nazi Germany. It's extraordinary how she just has this common knowledge about the world and is able to really just articulate details that you and I would have no idea what the heck she's talking about. It's almost like the calculus version of history, and she can just rattle it off like it happened yesterday without any resources. So she's an absolute rock star. Speaking of closing out the quarter, let's talk academics. Every single year, in the first quarter, we talk about how students do against the standards of the quarter academically, and we generally do a cross section of their academics from the previous year. This was a COVID-19 year, and so we finished school back in March and had emergency remote learning, knowing that there could be a gap of learning in specific courses. Started off the first week of school in remote or in a hybrid experience, then have been going 100% for approximately 37 or so academic days, and the quarter ended. We had our second parent-teacher conference to talk about that. So I'm going to post something for everyone to see here. And it's going to be a comparison of our GPAs from year to year. So everyone out there is able to see this tab. Gentlemen, and just so you know, I can't see you. They're just seeing the sheet, but I know that you can see the tab in front of you. Mr. Heim, I asked you to put this together based on the quarter. Talk to us a little bit about this.
I think the one thing that I think we can all say who are in education and just out living the wonderful place that we live in the United States is that things are different. We are all living under additional stress that we've never had to experience. At least I don't remember ever living this. And no matter what year of school we're in, teaching or in the classroom, things are different. They're not the same. But what was interesting is when we looked at how our students did last year, pre-COVID, the first quarter before our world changed that we're currently living in. At the high school, our overall first quarter GPA was 3.2, which is absolutely outstanding, remarkable. And that, credit to our students, our teachers, the community, our parents at home, everyone has a place in that. We also included in that is our seventh graders, from our current eighth graders, we used their seventh grade information there to make a comparison from last year to this year. Their GPA is not part of the average for the 2019. So what we wanted to do is, are there any correlation from how our students performed last year and how they're performing this year? And quite honestly, I think we all would say that, that GPA would probably be a little slightly lower because of all the new challenges with the online piece that some of our students are experiencing potentially that's a little different for them. Our teachers who are teaching online, that's not their norm. Is there a little offset there? Could there be a little offset, like Mr. Murray said, from all our students and for our staff who had to go virtual very quickly back in March? And remarkably, our GPA is just 1/100th of a point lower than it was last year at the current time, which is quite amazing. There should be some notes there. They don't line up directly across as you would see 8th to 8th and 9th to 9th on purpose, because what I want you to see is the cohort of students that were in 7th. How are they doing in 8th? Same students 1 year to the next. And what you'll see is the current sophomore group made a dramatic shift in where they were as a 3-1-1 to a 3-3-2.
Wow.
Pretty amazing, along with our senior class and our senior class. Now, that is not to say that our other classes should be ashamed of falling off a little bit, because they're still doing outstanding work. But I just wanted to note those sophomore class, and I think Mr. Murray's going to touch on something when I brought that up to him in his office on what he kind of like stated right away. And I know that someone will look at saying those 8th graders, boy, what's going on there. There's a huge transition to leave 7th grade in March, not getting that proper preparation that our 7th grade teachers do to get those students, prepared for high school. It is a huge adjustment. It's a huge adjustment for any student, but then coming from a middle school into a high school, but still they'll have almost a collective 3.0 in the first quarter is still very good. And I know they're going to grow throughout the year. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Murray to something that I think we might be able to connect that sophomore improvement to.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Heim, for doing all of this great work, because you are certainly very, very good with numbers and articulation. The first thing that stood out to me is 3 years ago during our reconfiguration, we intentionally put a program in place, and throughout the work of the Circuit of Success and the program that is the principles that they all take that allows them to kind of really learn some more intentional life skills. And on top of that, the exposure to high school courses that became so evident with that class, the volume of courses that our students took 3 years ago as 8th graders was increased. They were exposed to the academics of high school, and they came in and let's say they had some things that they had to learn from. I know that many of these boys and girls, we were talking academics with them. We were talking about their behaviors. But one of the things I want to note from this class from freshman year to sophomore year, if you note in this column that in 2019, we had 39 freshmen that were a 4.0. That same group of students, their sophomore year for the first quarter, 62 kids with a 4.0. That's 26% of the class. It's impressive. Their freshman year, 109 students greater than a 3.5, and then 144 for this year. The number continues for those greater than 3.0, 172 to 188. But here's a really important thing, is that just in 1 year, those that are below 3.0, those were at 75. Now they're at 48. So there could be really a phenomenal case study that the work that we did to really focus on the overall learning of all these students in their 8th grade year is working. And it's a reminder for all of us that we still have the freshmen that went through it in their 8th grade year, and now those 8th graders who are going through that there's that train that they're going to be going on. Are we perfect? No, but we have a lot of great things to celebrate from this data. And I know, Mr. Bandera, you probably want to add, as being one of our online administrators, things that we can get better at for our online students, because that seems to be where more of our deficiencies were.
Yeah. Definitely, I think the biggest thing online, it's an adjustment for everyone. I know I've been in a lot of meetings with families who are online, and it's an adjustment. It's a balancing act. You're balancing. I'm looking at my computer right now, and I have about 15 tabs open, and that's what a lot of our students are doing online. They have a lot of tabs open. You're managing your class time. To start, I always say you have to start somewhere. Start by attending your classes. That's number one. Start by attending every single class each day it meets. You're following the same exact schedule that our students in the building are following. So attend your classes. Turn on your cameras. I know that's a hard thing for a lot of us to do sometimes, but turn on your cameras because your teachers are outstanding teachers. Every one of our online teachers is an outstanding teacher. All of our teachers in our building are outstanding, but turn on your cameras. Let them see what you're doing. Let them see what you're doing. Let them see if you're struggling. And then ultimately ask the questions. Right now, you don't see what's on my desk. My desk is a mess right now, actually. You don't see that. Same thing with our online teachers. They don't see your mistakes. Now in the classroom, they're walking around every desk. They're seeing your paper. They're seeing where you're making errors. You're seeing where you're doing things well. It's hard. It's hard for our online teachers because they're not seeing that. You're submitting your work, and that's great. And they're trying to see those errors. So turn on your camera. Point your camera down. Point your camera. There's my messy desk. Point your camera at those things so that your teacher can see that. Ask for help. Ask for them to work with you. It's being an online student is hard. I've taken online college classes. I think every single one of us here probably has taken an online course of some sort before. It's not the same as in person. And that's the important thing to remember. And it takes a lot more discipline. It's a lot easier to have the computer open up and also turn on Netflix or turn on some other thing while you're in class. It takes a little more discipline. It takes that time commitment. We keep saying it's different than the spring. The spring was emergency remote learning. This is different. This is school. This is full-time school. We're asking you to do well. I want our online students to contribute to our positive GPA here. That's my goal, and let's hope that continues here in our second quarter.
So to close out, we understand clearly, because we're in school every single day. We're just as intelligent as every one of the listeners and parents and family members that the current state of our county and state, that there has been a lot of increased numbers towards COVID-19. The work that we're doing every single day, we are doing our part to try to mitigate every single risk, both our staff, our students, and all of the procedures we put in place. We know that there's a lot of fear towards, the county's been in red, counties around us in red. What does that mean for school? Um, I know that in this week in reflection, there is the board meeting that had the Commissioner Tom Quaid on it. That really the Department of Health has learned a lot about COVID-19. Certainly, there's a lot more to learn, but they're making the best decisions based on school. The three of us here don't make decisions on what it means when the county turns this color and towards our academics. But there's things that we can control, and so. Right here in my hand is a mask. We're not wearing a mask right now because there's no one in our space. But this is something that we can control. And we have a excellent group of students and staff, primarily a lot of staff members. I would recommend, if you want to learn how to wear a mask properly, go see Mr. Kovac, go see Mr. Herner, because regardless where they are, they're wearing this mask. They're protecting others by protecting themselves, vice versa. And we have a lot of our staff are doing this. Actually, a majority, almost all of our staff are doing this extremely well, and our students are too. But some of the things that we see often is this. And correct me if I'm wrong. You see a mouth covered.
The chin diaper is my favorite.
Yeah, I call it droopy drawers. We can't have droopy drawers, and let's just be honest. Do your part. Do our part. If you want to be in school, do your part. Wash your hands. Be mindful of this. Be mindful of your space. If you want to continue to have, the conclusion of fall sports and the introduction of winter sports, do your part. Do it right. Do it and do it well. But it is not just while you're in this building. Every single day, we hear our secretaries say, "Pull up your mask," as kids are walking into the building. Pull up your mask. Where's your mask? And they have it, but it's something that we hear because it's right in the front office. Do your part on the weekends. Just because you're on the weekend doesn't mean you don't wear your mask. So at any activity that you go to that you cannot properly distance like we can right now, we are nowhere near people. We don't have our mask on. But when we're with people, when we're all together in the same office, we pretty much have been quarantined together since July, the three of us. We still wear a mask. We're doing our part. Let's continue to do our part. And I know we're very passionate about this, and Mr. Bandera was very passionate about this in our faculty meeting the last 2 days of what we have to do. Mr. Bandera, Mr. Hyam, both your spouses are in education, okay? But my wife is not. She does build schools for education. But tell us a little bit about what they've been doing and the difference between what we've been doing.
Sure. So my wife hasn't stepped foot in her building besides one day this school year. My wife's a health and phys ed teacher at Garfield Heights High School. Their school has been closed and will remain closed now until at least after Thanksgiving. They're in a different county. They have different struggles and different issues right now than we do. They're not planning on returning. So her students, unfortunately, this time are all remote. Every single one of them is remote. They're attending classes remotely. They're struggling with that. And it's most schools, besides the schools that were designed that way, are not designed as online schools. I'll just be 100% honest. School was not designed to be online. Can we do a good job with it? Yes, we can do a good job with it, but we're not designed to be online places. And it's difficult. My wife is a phys ed teacher. It's difficult to teach hockey, broomball, volleyball, soccer, baseball, whatever she's teaching. It's difficult to do that. It's not the same as doing it in person in her gym with 27 basketball hoops. So it's not where we want to be. And the only way we're not going to have that is control what we can control. And like Mr. Murray said, keep your distance, wear your masks, wash your hands. Those three things right now are what the experts are telling us to do. So we're going to follow those instructions.
And my wife has a similar experience as Mr. Bandera's wife. She's a school counselor in Cleveland Heights, University Heights at Garrity Elementary School. And that entire district is remote setting. However, as a school counselor, she's been going in because that population, her clientele, as you would say, her students need her to be in school where they could drop in, maybe get that social mental support at times. So she's been trying to do that. She's had to go in and do third grade testing. So she's had students who have been virtual all year, but then had to go to school to take a third grade uh, achievement test for the state of Ohio. So she had to coordinate all that, go in, but she clearly said it's not the same. I mean, she is the type of person that needs to be close to students. Students need to be able to come to her and be able to cry on her shoulder or share a celebration with her. And it's not the same doing it virtually. So we're very lucky. Every day that we're in school, we're very lucky. It's one day that we should cherish, and we shouldn't expect to have tomorrow in class. But if we can, we should cherish it and make it the best we can. And we're only going to have these days together if we continue to do what we're asked to do, and that's with the mask, cleaning our hands. And I know in the cafeteria it's lunchtime, but if we're not eating, we need to put our mask on. We need to do all the little things so that we can continue to have this great experience of being in school together, because there are many students in the state that don't have this opportunity like we are, and we need to cherish it.
Well said, gentlemen. Tomorrow is Friday. It is October 30th. It is our annual day where students can dress up for Halloween. They can wear a mask, but it must be the PPE mask, no other type of mask. Mr. Bandera, I have a great idea for Mr. Hyam. I believe that he should dress up as Mr. Kovach's twin. I think Mr. Kovach has twins, but Mr. Kovach absolutely loves Mr. Hyam. But I think Mr. Hyam should do his part and dress up like Mr. Kovach.
What would I have to do? I mean, one, I'm not 5 feet tall, 200 pounds. So it'd be a little hard to do that.
He's down to like 115 pounds now.
Well, that's because he doesn't eat.
Well,
He eats like kale chips.
Yeah.
He's a big sweatshirt guy, so you got to wear some sweatshirts.
You have to pull out your Hiram hat.
I don't have any stretcher shoes. I mean, Skechers. I don't have any of those shoes.
Yeah, he needs some Skechers. He's always rocking the Skechers. You probably got to grow your hair out a little bit tonight.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some long hair because his wife won't cut his hair for him.
I haven't had that since the 80s.
You may have to grow a little bit of a beard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a tough move. It might be like like that transformation Michael Jackson made in Thriller.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Kovach is actually going to dress up like Mr. Hyam tomorrow, so this should be very entertaining because
role reversal.
He loves him. Gentlemen, this podcast has been long enough. We need to transition to get out of here to see our families. I appreciate all the things you guys do every single day, and enjoy your tonight, and let's focus on tomorrow. Any shout outs before we go?
Not today. Actually, no, yesterday. I'm sorry, yesterday. Shout out to all of our, let's say, bus drivers today. They're doing, they've learned some new routes this week, and there's been a couple hiccups here or there, but I think they're doing a great job getting our students to and from school safely. So shout out to them. They're still learning, have some patience with them, but they're doing a good job learning those new routes.
If I can real quick, shout out to two different people for two different reasons. To Miss Wessels for going above and beyond to meet the needs of a student in her class, to really get to know the student and the needs of what that student really has to have to be successful. And also, this is a personal thing for a non-writer, to Miss Newman, to get someone who doesn't want to write to want to sit down and write a paper tonight, which was amazing. I observed her today, and she was doing a lesson that just brought out the urge and interest in me to write, and I could see it in the excitement in her students. And I think that's why we do this, to get those aha moments with students and get people to do things they might not be comfortable with and to meet their needs. So to both of them, thank you.
That's great. Mr. Hyam, I do have a week of reflection that you could write. I think they would know the difference between you and
They
I
would.
running.
They would. It would be very mathematical and very short.
Be a lot more numbers.
I want to give a shout out to, wow, we're going to the English department. Mrs. Monaco had an extraordinary lesson, and I observed her class online. So it was a really cool experience to see what the online teacher was doing and actually participate like I was a student. And I just shout out to her for all of that. Again, shout out to all of our teachers that are constantly modeling the proper ways to wear a mask and how to maintain distance and being mindful of that leadership. So have a great night. Let's hopefully it stops raining, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Go Toppers.
Bye.